Hey, John, this is Julian. I was going to try and share my goals for 2016. And then real quick, just for fun, I was going to give my statistics for 2015, too. As you know, I've tracked everything on a Microsoft Word document. So in 2015, since I started your program in late June, I made 165 calls to sellers, had 103 conversations with sellers, made 59 offers, went to 46 appointments, but 12 of those were all park-owned homes and one park, so really like 35 appointments, and then purchased or agreed to have purchased 9 homes so far. And then for 2016, the goal is 2 homes per month for total goal of 24 homes in 2016.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here again. If you are sitting in front of a computer, please go to mobilehomeinvesting.net /hard work 2016. I'm very excited about this call. We're not going to be talking about... Real quickly, I want to interrupt this video to let you know what you're going to be watching. I think there's a lot of videos out there, probably too many, on goal setting for maybe your 5-year plan. And we'll say this is the present, and then this is 5 years from now. You should know whether you want 1 million plus in the bank, 10 million net, 50 plus mobile homes, whatever it might be for you. That's your 5-year plan. But I don't want to talk about goal setting on a macro level, bird's eye view. That's kind of too abstract. I really want to help you out and talk about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. So, here's 5 years from your present to 5 years. We can cut this up into years, goal markers, mile markers for the years. And then also in every year, there's 12 months. And in every month, there's 4 weeks. And every week, there's 7 days. And that's what I really want to talk to you about. So in this video, we're going to kind of take a magnifying glass right there and zoom in on a micro level of what you should be doing on a day-to-day basis to achieve your intermediary goals and then long-term goals. For 2016, really look into the future. It's not written yet, and whatever you want to do, whatever obstacles and hurdles that may be between you and your goal are certainly overcomable. So let's address what those are today. Let's talk about a realistic plan moving forward, and then let's over the next year, talking about it is the easy part, but over the next year, 2016, let's go ahead and accomplish those goals. But let's today say, yes, I want to be accountable. This is, the year that is only going up and up and up. Every year from now on is going to be better and better than the year before. So if you're in front of the computer again, please go to mobilehomeinvesting.net /hard work 2016. And I made this outline for you because I just want you to pay attention for these first kind of 10 or 15 minutes. And then I'm going to go ahead and let everyone kind of speak, and we can talk about goals. And we're going to actually talk about a couple other things, some updates and announcements I have for the group. Really exciting stuff for 2016. So stay tuned for that. The first thing I want to talk about before we even really discuss goals and goal setting and targets, I really think goals are kind of targets is really kind of a better word for them. But really understand who you are. Own the word mobile home investor. I talk to a lot of different investors that are short sale folks, or mobile home investors that are with the group here, or short whatever somebody might do. Fix and flip is popular, or lending money, but people are usually proud of it. They usually stand up and they're happy with what they're doing. They say it loudly. And sometimes with mobile home investors, we oftentimes are timid, or we're quiet, or we're shy. I know when I first got started, I was embarrassed about being a mobile home investor. So the first thing I want to mention is just, own that title. Be proud that you know how to help sellers, and that you're actually able to help sellers. In 2016, something I want you to be, real with yourself is how much do you want to challenge yourself in 2016? We're going to talk on a very logical level. By the time everybody hangs up, I really want you to understand that, anything that you want to do, mobile home related, other real estate related, there is a path, there is a journey to get you to that point. So how much do you want to challenge yourself? We're all sort of doing the same things in this group. We're going to focus on the basics, and we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. But in 2016, do you want to stay steady with your business? with what you did in 2015, let's think about this. How many homes did you invest in? How much did you push yourself? Do you want to continue? Is 3 homes a year good? Is 15? How much did you have last year? So if you're looking just to stay where you're going, hold steady on your current path, that's completely fine, perfectly acceptable. Do keep in mind that there is a snowball effect. So even doing the constant, if you don't add anything else to your business, whatever you're already doing, signs and contacting park managers and following up with sellers and meeting new sellers and with Craigslist and other online sources and the paper. So is that what you want to continue doing? And if that's fine, great. The more you do, the more people the more of a name that you'll build just by staying steady with what you're doing. But I think most people right now that are on this call really want to grow. You want to get out of your job, you want to continue doing this business, you want to do other real estate. I mean, let's face it, mobile home investing is great, but it's certainly not the end-all be-all of real estate. So I encourage you, don't just have mobile home goals, have other real estate goals for sure. Buying and holding goals, maybe commercial property. I don't know if you want to get into mobile home parks. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the call. But that's something that we're going to talk about in this call, is mobile home investing. And I'd love to talk about other forms of investing and kind of, what the path of that looks like. And on a one-on-one basis, we can certainly do that, so feel free to reach out to me. But for this call, we're going to go ahead and just focus on mobile home investing. And you can obviously multitask, while you're doing mobile home investing to purchase and look at and review other types of real estate, or vice versa, fit mobile home investing into your other already existing real estate investing business. And I want you, for the rest of this call, we're not going to talk so much about buying homes, about closing homes, about exit strategies, because I like to think of real estate investing, and I think about dominoes when I kind of have this vision where when you push over that first domino, when you set up dominoes and you push that first one over, all the other dominoes, they're going to fall into place. So going to appointments, showing up on time, making offers, following up with sellers, closing, funding the deals, repairing the deals, cleaning it up, reselling it, marketing, doing this again, wearing all those different hats until you begin to outsource more and more of your business. Realize that the domino effect is, we don't have to think about all that other stuff. We're going to do it, and you have to step up, when the time comes to go to the appointment, to show up on time, to make offers, to follow up, and everything else that you already know how to do with the training that you have. So we're going to focus on, and what I'd like you to focus on is marketing. Advertising and marketing, things that we can control. We can't force a seller to do a deal with us. We can't make people go, back on their mortgages or default on the park, for lot rent. So, but what we can do is be well known, market and advertise, reach out to people, be proactive, be reactive, and just be available, be the go-to mobile home person in your area. So that's what we're going to focus on a lot on this call, because everything else will come. On this call, we're also going to talk about making sacrifices. I want to talk about that right now. There's really no way around it. If you can sacrifice for the next 5 years doing this business, things you don't want to do, other real estate, you can live the rest of your life incredibly well. Great words from a great mentor that's since passed away of mine. And he was absolutely right. And then 5 years came and passed, and then another 5 years. So, I mean, you probably won't want to stop after 5 years. But sacrifices we're going to discuss in a little bit. And then also we're just going to focus on the basics. Keep it simple. And I think that's what real goal setting is. You have the power in you already. I mean, as human beings, we have so much energy and potential to interact with others. And the words that we have such power to help form others' opinions and help give them ideas, and to purchase their homes and to help buyers and sellers and parks and local communities. So you already know a lot of what you need to do with regards to mobile home investing. It's putting the work in and finding when we can do that and just making it realistic. I mean, a side business shouldn't be a struggle. I know sometimes we kind of, as human beings, we kind of value that. I was really busy today, so I felt really productive and I felt good about myself. But as mobile home investors, we can focus on the basics, and obviously do those repetitively to build the name up for yourself. So again, in your area, you're that go-to person that people know, that people know. You're making offers regularly, and again, leads find you. You don't even know where they're coming from. So that's the biggest part, and then from there, everything else develops. So really hope that made sense. Now that we kind of talked about kind of the logical, perspective of this, the fact that we're mobile home investors, that we're proud of what we're doing, that we do want to grow our businesses, and we know that, okay, we need to focus on the basics and do a lot more of it. Yes, we're going to have a ton of questions in the meantime. I don't know what offers to make the seller. I don't know should I counter offer. Do I follow up now? Do I mail sellers? What about advertising? And we haven't even talked about repairs or closing or exit strategies. So of course there's going to be a plethora of due diligence and questions. But as long as right now, the present version of you, every single day, you take daily action to further your name as the go-to source in your area. That's what you can do to expand your radius. And then again, you're just adding more and more to your future self, more and more to that future self's plate, because you're, again, just trying to be go gangbusters in your area and saturate your area. That way your future self can cherry pick deals, that we can close deals regularly. Or if you're not closing deals regularly or cherry picking deals, at least, the mass approach that we take, focusing on the quality of folks as well as the quantity of who we're talking to, is so important. The more, the better. We need an inventory in this business. And that's where I want to talk about the problems that people have. Let's talk about that. And I'm going to go ahead and unmute folks here in just a moment. What I'd like you to think about is the folks that have been doing this business for a good bit of time. What problem are you running into? Because let's not fool ourselves thinking in 2016 something miraculous is going to happen without you correcting it. So let's talk about some problems that people normally have, or could normally have if there are problems. So you're investing in mobile homes and there's a lack of capital. That's the first one. That's a pretty big one. We try to make our money back as quickly as possible, but ultimately there could eventually be a lack of capital. The second thing, a big problem, would be lack of time. Ultimately we have to fit this business in somewhere. So that's a concern, lack of time. Has that been an issue in 2015? Is anything going to change? It might be the same issue in 2016 unless we change it or correct it. Lack of deals could be a third problem. But I don't want to say lack of deals because that implies that we're expecting more from the market than it can give us. Remember I said that we can't force deals to come to fruition. We can't force bad onto sellers, onto people to get into, bad situations, that are paycheck to paycheck and, might need to move or sell, or they might need help or guidance. We can't force that or wish that. So what we can do, what we can control, is our territory. So when people say lack of deals, I would think lack of inventory. How well known are you? Are you in 5 parks? Are you in 10 parks? On a first name basis with park managers. Keep in mind that after a few years, a couple dozen homes in your portfolio, you can build a really good business with a few parks. So, after a few years, a couple dozen deals in your portfolio, I would venture to guess, educated guess, that you're only going to be involved in 4, 10, 8 parks, something like that, maybe tops. So again, you're going to, the same way an approach that we talk with sellers, I want you to be involved with parks from 5-mile radius around you to 10 miles, 20 miles, 30 miles, all the way up to about 90 minutes away from your home area. That we need to kind of dominate that market. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen with consistency. And we never know, what that next park is gonna hold for us. So that's a concern, lack of inventory. Also motivation. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Do you want to do this? Do you want to get up in the morning and put in the work that it takes? You know what it takes. But when we look at it on a macro level, it can be hard to get a grip on what we need to do daily or we feel bad about ourselves because we missed a few days of, following up with sellers or reaching out to new people. And that when we know our limitations and we know our setbacks, we can focus on sort of a, day in and day out. Every day, what am I responsible for? And then we can, that forward, that compounding effect of just one foot in front of the other every day makes all the difference. It makes all the difference in the world. This isn't just a one-hit wonder business. This takes effort and consistency. So I want to let other people come on the phones right now because we talked about a few issues, and we're going to talk about how to overcome those in just a couple minutes. But we talked about lack of capital being a problem, and this is what was a problem for you in 2015. So lack of capital, lack of time, lack of inventory. I'm going to go ahead and unmute this, and I think everyone will unmute at once. So please, guess don't all yell at once, or maybe try to mute your side.
Can you hear me, John?
Oh, I sure can, yes.
Hey, I don't know if I'm muted. I don't have any problems. I'm just saying, what's up?
Hey.
What's up to everybody?
Jay, all right. Thank you for being here.
I'm just saying, what's up? That's all.
All right. So
hey, John, Bill Murray here. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Glad you're here.
Yeah, no, I one thing I found to be a problem for me is how do I get through these parks faster? And I think it's just going to be time, and getting investing so I can move through faster. But I feel like I'm taking too much time as I'm going through the parks and going through the homes.
Is that what's taking all this time? Is it just what do you feel could be quicker?
Well, so when I'm driving through them, I'm going nice and slow. I'm trying to look at all the homes and the park and finding any for sale by owners or for sale signs in general. And whenever I'm getting in the homes and I'm looking around, I'm still new, so I'm looking around maybe a little bit more than I should, and spending some extra time building rapport with the people I'm talking to. And I feel like I'm spending too much time. It took me, I don't know, about 3 hours to go through a park and 2 homes.
The two homes, those were, the park manager said, hey, come follow me, I want to show you these?
No, so I actually I'm writing an email to you about this, so but I went in to go see a house or a home, and whenever I left that home, I went ahead and rolled through the park, and I saw some other for sale, so I went to go take pictures of the number, and I met another homeowner that was selling their house while I was standing outside, and then they took me through their house as well. And then I also talked to the park manager.
Okay, so I'm going to write that down. Speed.
Taking too much time.
Say that the last part again.
I just feel like I'm taking too much time. Maybe my expectation or perception of how much time I should be spending is wrong. Maybe I'm spending just enough time. I don't know.
So, I can definitely shed some light on that. Let me ask. Anybody else have any problems that you've noticed in 2015 that you don't want to carry over into 2016? I will go ahead and...
Hey, John, can you hear?
I sure can.
Hey, this is Brad Richard. I had one topic that I found to be a problem. As I'm still working a full-time 9-to-5 job, also coach athletics and compete in athletics. So my issue is time, but I guess more time management. So I guess, there's only so many hours in a day, and I can get up early and do the Craigslist and drive to parks and things. But at the end of the day, there's so many hours in a week. So what would you think are the most important items if I have 10 hours I can devote? What do you think are the critical items that I should focus on? Like you said, the dominant effect. Anything else comes into place easily.
I can definitely expound on that as well.
Hey, you can space it out over 5 days, like how I do for my schedule, John.
What's John?
Hello, yes. Who is this?
Okay.
This is Steve Johnson
Hey,
here.
Steve.
I live in the cold Arctic tundra of North Dakota. Those are winters for me. They're not great, but not much I can do about that until I move.
So is that okay? So you've that's your problem, and you've just admitted to basically throwing in the towel. Mother Nature wins.
No, I'm not throwing in the towel. It's just a matter of I'm excited for the day when I get to move away from Fargo, North Dakota, and get to see some of these warmer locations with some of these bigger parks, or some of the senior citizen retirement parks. There are no senior parks here whatsoever. It'd just be nice to get out of the cold. It's a cold freeze right now, so that's also playing into my mind.
The folks around the country are, I'm sure the folks in the warmer states are happy that they're in those states, hearing that.
I mean, that's all my problem is.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
Well, it is, or it's I mean, it is what it is, but folks that have a full-time job, and then the lack of time, with, Brad, you have your other obligations, family and after work, and then the career. And I admire, all the folks that decide that have all that going on and then just add more to their plate. So when I got started, it was just 2 part-time jobs, no real family life. So, it was easier for me, but bottom line is that we do have to fit this time in somewhere. I will talk about, what is the most important stuff if you do only have 10 hours a week. And Stephen, did you have any problems or concerns that I didn't mention from 2015 besides the weather as well?
No, nothing. I think I've done an okay job addressing them. I haven't overcome them yet, but at least acknowledging and figured out how to get around them.
Okay, good. Yes, that's so good. I mean, confronting the limitations and what's holding you back is the only way to overcome them. And there's you can overcome any obstacle with proper planning and correct action. So I'm going to go ahead and mute.
Conference muted.
Okay, everyone should be muted. So let's go ahead and talk about those problems, and then we can talk about, because once we talk about all the problems, there's nothing else holding us back. I mean, obviously the amount of people selling their homes, but there's really nothing else holding us back. We're trying to eliminate as many of those issues as we can right now. So the big thing, lack of cash, that was one of the things that we discussed. Or that is discussed usually, lack of cash. And what can you do about that? Well, I did a recent video where we were selling notes, and that's a potential way to recoup some capital very quickly, to sell a mobile home on cash, to generate an influx of cash, to then, use that for future deals and for further deals. So selling notes, also private money. Who do you know around you that wants to invest in these homes with you? They can be private money, or they can be a partner. You can also borrow money. You can borrow money with credit cards or from, that would be sort of private money. And we also talked about going in with different partners that potentially have more money, or that want to partner on the deal with you. They'll be the money people. Also terms. I know folks that I talk with, it's really interesting. It's like a 50-50 split, which I'm surprised at because I love terms. Even if I could pay cash or for the home, sometimes I would rather pay terms. Yes, I'm going to give the seller more money, but I'm going to keep more cash in my pocket. I can do other things with it. And ultimately, we can't do terms on every deal, obviously, because sellers they don't always take terms. They don't always want payments for their home. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they'll even take a balloon for their home, which is awesome and just sort of surprising sometimes whenever they do accept that. And for them and their situation, it works. So I do want to make a note that terms should be pressed. If you don't have an unlimited bank account, then push terms whenever you can. When you're making offers to sellers, we can structure those accordingly, so that the terms offer obviously is a much better value. It's a better fit. If they can at all wait for their money, then they're going to take this term offer, which again, a lot of people can wait for that money. a lot of people aren't, taking whatever they're getting from you and just immediately spending it on something else. Some are for sure, but many aren't. And if they like you and trust you and the value is good enough, they'll sell to you on terms. So cash is an issue, but private money, partners, selling notes, credit cards, all things to be aware of. And if you do borrow on credit cards, put every dime of profit you get to pay off those cards, to pay off the notes. Just a good policy around, in my opinion. The next thing is lack of time. You got to find it. Now, Brad, you asked about you have, let's say, 10 hours in a week. Well, what can you do with 10 hours? Well, you can follow the formula and kind of, 10 hours, you'll just do what you can do in 10 hours. You'll see as many homes as you can. You'll talk to as many people. But, if you have 10 hours to do all the work that you have to get done, obviously 20 hours or 30 hours, you'd be able to get done double or triple the amount of things. If you were cramming everything into, your lunch break. And that's something else to consider. Monday through Friday, I would like every single day for you to be taking action. If you don't, it's hard to get into a rhythm of taking a day off, not taking a day off. So every single day, your lunch break, whenever you can fit it in, go to the bathroom, take up cigarette smoking. Just kidding about that last one. But go out and step out and make the calls that you need to make. And to break down the tasks that are so important, let's just talk about marketing. Because if you are talking to a seller and you hear their voice over the phone, let's actually think of a seller, the face, the voice, they're a real person, they're not just a number or a home. That seller, when you hear that voice and they need to sell and want to sell and they want your help and what you've explained, what we do, how we buy, the way that we should do it, and then set an appointment accordingly, you should only be going to the appointments that we set based on our criteria. You've told them ballpark what we would pay based on a home that fits their description the way that they told us. And then we'll set an appointment. But we don't want to set an appointment if a seller is just asking too much or they're not flexible or motivated. We just don't need to. So with that said, the important things, if you only have 10 hours per week, and I'm going to say those 10 hours, they're not your marketing. You put ads in the paper, you put ads online, you put signs out there. That I'm not including in those 10 hours. So you got to kind of figure out that. Maybe wake up at 2 a.m. one day or 3 a.m. or before you go to work. I remember doing a great case study with Ken in Florida. Not sure if he's on this call, and he told me, I said, when do you fit all this in? Because you have a full-time job or you had one. I get up an hour early, and I go and I put out signs. I go through parks, find out what's for sale. Nothing's open yet, but, I go and do it. And that just, that's completely right. We have to fit this in. So the 10 hours, if you only have 10 hours per week, I want all those 10 hours to be on the phone, contacting folks, reaching out to parks, following up with old park managers, new sellers. Now, if you haven't collected your first 50 leads in parks yet, you're still going to have to go to those parks. You're still going to have to go to new parks, and 5, 10, 20, 30 miles around you, at least once, there's no substitute for going to the park, driving all the potholes, raiding the park, seeing what's for sale, stopping in and trying to talk to the management or grabbing the phone number if the manager is not there. So you have to do that whenever it can be done. Saturday, Sunday, cram it all in as much as you can after work, maybe before work. But to maximize your time with everything you do. Phone calls can be done everywhere. Once you actually get good at them, and pretty easy, you can actually make them as you're going through the park. You see a sign, call it up right then and there. And then very quickly, in the course of a few minutes, I would spend way too much time back a long time ago. And then I was forced to make dozens of calls I wasn't forced, but I did make dozens of calls every day. And I said, there's no way I can talk to people 30 minutes each. I don't like hearing their problems, but, I want to hear, and my gosh, these people are going through really, heartaches. So I whittled down the 30 minutes I spent with every seller before I set an appointment down to just 3 to 7 to really understand them, they understand us, and we set an appointment or not. And then when we go to that appointment, the goal is obviously to take pictures, to walk through every square inch of the home, understand them, they want to understand you and your business. The next step of, hey, I'm going to go back to my partners and show them the pictures. Then in the next 24 to 48 hours, we're going to call you. If we have, or any offers that we have, we're going to go ahead and call you either way. So really important to understand that the lack of time, it has to be done. You can also partner with people, and they can pick up some of that slack. You can also outsource a good portion of this business. When we're selling homes, we can outsource it with an automated selling funnel. When we're purchasing homes, we try to outsource the marketing that we can, the mailings that we do, the signs that we put out, the calls to sellers. I really think that that's something that you should be doing. Maybe you can outsource it. I haven't found anyone that I like or trust enough to even just get that information. And ultimately, the calls don't take long. You can get through, 10 calls in an hour. That is not out of the question. So spending less time at the home, just taking pictures, remembering why you're there. But ultimately, I've spent a lot of time with some sellers, and if it's going well, then spend time there. And then walking through the home, peeling things back. When you're newer, you're going to go to more appointments that you shouldn't until you get kind of more seasoned. But I would rather you go to a few extra than not enough. Your criteria is just too firm. So we do want to go to people's homes and kind of throw our hat in the ring. I mean, let's face it, some of these sellers might not even have had anybody walk through their home or make them an offer. And here we are on the very first phone call making them an offer, setting an appointment, going to their home right on time, and then following up a day or so later, making them valid offers to go ahead and purchase their homes. Jay, you mentioned about that bite size, a couple doing things kind of every day. And I would go ahead and absolutely agree. But I would go ahead and, the way I would do things, the way I have done things, is to just every day, there's like a core group of activities that I do. And currently in my business, it's called 3 sellers, 3 new mobile home sellers, whether that's in the Central Texas area or Kansas, I'm trying to buy for that park, or in a separate area. Also call 3 mobile home park sellers. 3 sellers there. That's either brokers, that's who's ever listing a home, maybe for sale by owner, or the park rather, mobile home parks. Doing a few other things with following up with park managers, and then also even going to new places that I haven't even been to yet, and there are some of those. So every single day, parks that I'm not involved with, I try to make an impression on them, call them up. And that's what I encourage you to do as well. If nothing else, phone calls will result in deals in this business. Yes, we want to put out advertising to get calls coming in, but if doing nothing else, like I just I can't do anything, John, I got to focus on work, I got to focus on this stuff. 3 and that's something that we're going to talk about here in just a little bit, is I want you to set up per day what can be done and what can't be done. And then we all want to be successful in this business, so if you do set appointments, that's going to be extra time, but hey, we have to make sacrifices somewhere. Appointments we make sacrifices for. And then there's really not too much else that we have to do. Even a mobile home on land, we go once to get a contract signed, maybe, the closing attorney or title agents are handling the paperwork. If there's no if it's not a mobile home on land, it's in a park, it's even easier. So really, there's not too much time invested. We can outsource the repairs and the closings real quick, and then when we resell, we can outsource a lot of that. So really, a lot of the time you're going to be spending, and you should be spending, is again advertising and marketing, which I've been harping on this whole call. So it's if there's any magic in this business, it's just the compound effect every day to reach out to sellers, to reach out to park managers, other investors, remind them what you do. So we talked about time, the inventory, lack of deals around you. Expand your territory. There's really no substitute for this. If you're not going to, obviously opening up mobile homes on land, if you're just doing mobiles in parks and you say, well, I want to do more. I want to be busier. I want more deals. Well, depending on your area of the country, mobile homes attached to private land could be 50% of the marketplace, could be 75% of the mobile homes, 25%, 0% of the mobile homes in your area. So just be aware of that. You want to expand your territory, go a little bit further out. And then also a question I would ask for anyone that kind of says, well, a lack of deals, a lack of inventory, is how many park managers do you know on a first name basis? And how many know you on a first name basis? So kind of really important to understand and be real with yourself of, do I know a lot of park managers? Do they know me? People have to sell. They pop up regularly, around your separate counties and areas. You just don't know about them. You never hear about them. And that's because park managers aren't telling you about them. Sellers don't know. Other investors that might get the lead aren't telling you. And we have to fix that. And the only way to do that is by being the squeaky wheel to sellers, to buyers, to other investors, to garbage men, to your friends and family, and just let people know what you do. Certain laws, becoming licensed, expanding your territory. If maybe some cities are restricting mobile homes, understand that. What am I going to do? What cities do I want to be involved with? Am I going to be getting my license? If so, when? Motivation. That's something I want to discuss. I'm not really going to talk about it right now because we're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. I have an answer for you on motivation. And then speed in the park, we talked about that a little bit, and that will become better with time. And ultimately, you have to value your time. A lot of folks, and this just comes with experience, but people will waste your time. Not through any, I guess, fault of their own. Maybe they just want a lonely. They want somebody to talk to. But people will waste your time. So it's very important, to let them know. Don't worry about, hurting anyone's feeling about walking out or about, just saying, listen, unfortunately, you're in a good situation. I mean, I talk to a bunch of sellers every week and, their back's against the walls. They don't have time. Their home's junky. And you have an amazing spot. Good for you. I'll call you if anything changes. Please, if you have any real estate questions or, never hesitate to give me a call if anything changes. And, if I'll, be happy to keep in touch with you. So don't hesitate to, walk out of the situation, let them know that it doesn't fit your criteria, whatever you need to say, going to another appointment right now. But ultimately, that is an issue. You don't need to spend that long. 30 minutes to an hour per home should be more than enough. But yeah, anyway, I mean, that's kind of a case-by-case basis. So that was, we've talked about problems. Now we want to talk about, and we talked about, possible ways to overcome them. And during this call, this isn't $1 million phone call. It's not going to change your life and, instantly net you a bunch of money. But I did want to just kind of set the layout because what problems you have, and I'd be happy to discuss those with you on a one-on-one basis if you'd like to, and we can overcome them together. But understanding your problems and the fact that there is a way over them, is the most important thing to realize. And then daily activity is a big thing. So let's talk about that and ways to advertise. I mean, let's name a few right now. If you're on the page that I said to go to, that mobilehomeinvesting.net/hardwork 2016, you'll see on number 6, I have ways to market and advertise. There's if.com, which you want to call people back ASAP. A lot of folks have their if recipes set up and they're getting these emails, but you're not making phone calls right away. Please do. Bandit signs, newspapers, both proactive and reactive. You're calling on ads. You have an ad out there. I want to buy your mobile home. Park managers, incredibly important. Depending on who I talk to, between 20 and 40% of your leads are coming from park managers. So park managers, follow up with them. Again, once a month if you don't have a deal in there. Direct mail. There's so many, who do you mail to? There's different lists. There's different people that would indicate, hey, this might be a motivated seller. They're behind on taxes, a code violation, the MLS expired. They couldn't sell their home that way. Bulletin boards in parks. We have that flyer in the bonus section in the module. And you want to go ahead and put that flyer where you can rip the little tabs on bulletin boards. It's not a home run on every park by any means, but it does get consistent calls and it stays up there. Ask the park manager for permission first. Bird dogs, other investors, your local RIA groups and meetup clubs, stand up, be noisy, let people know, hey, mobile homes, I want them, ugly ones, big ones, fat ones, short ones, old ones, call me, please. The mobile home guy, mobile home girl, right here, call me up. And then also if you're on that webpage, you can click the link and there's, about 50 plus other ways to advertise. What I'd like you to do is take your favorite ones, the ones listed here for sure, and then also any on the separate page that you can see the link here. And if you're not in front of a computer, go to the page. You'll see number 6, advertising and marketing, and there's only one link to click, and you'll go see a slew of different ways, just general ways to attract and find motivated sellers. And what I'd like you to do is, on a piece of paper, on Excel, whatever's best for you, come up with, on the left side of this grid, on the left side, it's going to be all the ways that you can market. Call sellers, bandit signs, call park managers, call new park managers, call old park managers, call new sellers, call old sellers, call realtors I haven't talked to in a little while, call other investors, remind them of what they do, how can I help you, and also how can you help me? Here's what I do. So all those different ways, door knocking, whatever. I wouldn't suggest door knocking. Well, I would and I wouldn't. On land it can be okay, in parks I probably wouldn't. But you want to list all those things on the left side, and then the days, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, will be along the bottom axis. So as you move and you read from left to right, you're going forward in days, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, through the week. And I want you right now to set a goal, to set a target of how many people that you're going to call the weekly, and this is really breaks down, day by day. You can have weekly goals as well, such as I have to have 2 ads running. I have to have 3 Craigslist ads out in 3 different markets. I have to have 40 signs put out in 2 different areas. Whatever it might be, those can be weekly goals, those kind of bigger things. But the day in and day out, I really want you to set that, and if you're not doing that, it's a huge disservice to your business. Even if you're holding 1 or 2 properties, this business, as you already kind of understand, there's a bit of lag time, so to speak, where I want you to blitz the market, and I want you to saturate this market starting right now, starting January 1, whenever you want to. If you go out, and when you're first getting started, we go out and we collect a mass number of leads, and then we call all of them. Some sellers, 1 or 2, might sell right away, but most of those folks are going to take time, weeks, days, months, to go ahead and realize that, I guess what I was asking wasn't as realistic as I thought. And some people will sell and some won't. But when I say there's lag time, I want you to be involved and active every single day, because the only deals I want you to close, you're making your money back very quickly. We're making $300 net per month, and you're making 5 years worth of cash flow, or 4 years worth of cash flow after it's you're paid back, so to speak, or plus 4 years plus. So I really want you to do good deals, and those don't just fall out of the sky. So we have to be talking to a lot of folks and realize that your business, 80% of people you talk to, you're going to be the bearer of not bad news, but realistic news. And being the bearer of realistic news, you're coming from a point that nobody else was honest enough to go ahead and tell them in a tactful, way, that they like you and they trust you. And bottom line, they want the most for their home in the shortest period of time. So we have to understand that when we're talking to sellers. So we don't just focus on the quantity of who we're talking to, but the quality of these folks as well. And again, let's not think of, when you're focusing on your goals, don't try to say, oh, next year I want 20 homes, or I want, $5,000 per month by the end of the year. Try not to quantify it with a price or, your goals. Have that in mind, but more so day in and day out, focus on the faces. I want to help this many people. I want to talk to this many people, because without helping folks, the money will come. That will definitely come. And that's a more realistic approach, or every day. Instead of saying, I want money, I want to make more money, I want more deals, I want more homes. That's kind of abstract. So one thing I like to keep in mind is, the people that I'm helping. And that in itself, it's like, oh, well, okay, well, where do I find those people? And it's like, oh, I got to go get them. I got to go find them. I got to find where they are. I want to talk to people that know those people. I want to get great word of mouth references and let everyone I talk to know that they should be an army for me, and say, hey, if you know anyone else that needs to sell or that wants to buy, please, my phone's always on. Please call me, text me. So I hope that made sense with the advertising and marketing. A mindset that I'd also like you to have is that with a big enough radius, you will close deals. So very important to understand. Again, we're focusing on the basics here. 80% 70% of your business should be focusing on the basics, on marketing. And there's a bunch you can outsource, keep that in mind. Signs you can outsource, letters for mobile, letters you can outsource, door hangers for mobile homes outside of parks. Again, I would call sellers personally, and that's, again, what are you going to do every day? You're going to call 2 sellers, 3 sellers. What about park managers, new ones, old ones, following up? And any questions or concerns, you probably have a bunch of them. Don't hesitate. A little bit later in this, we'll go ahead and I'll unmute the mic, and then also email me if you want. Let me know your questions so we can get over them. So commit to those, every single day. I'd like everyone, whether it's 30 minutes to 90 minutes every single day, that's what you should be putting into your business. Just day in, day out. This business shouldn't be exciting. It shouldn't be that fun. It should be repetitive. It should be predictable. It should be a business. That, I'm going to call people and then I'm going to get statistically certain number of deals. And that's just what it is. I mean, it's exciting, of course, but, thinking about it, this is all pretty logical. It's certainly a sort of a numbers business, an inventory type of business. And you are the gatekeeper, with your time, with your capital, with who you're talking to, the private money you're trying to gather, the notes you're trying to sell, what time you have. And, of course, you're morphing into an investor every single day. The person in 6 months from now won't be the same person as you are today, in a good way, I mean. So really hope that made sense. That was the bulk of what I wanted to talk about with everyone today. Take care.
Thank you, John.
Good night.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Very welcome. Take care. All right, bye, guys.